Alright, well, I made a ranking video for the McFarlane toys of the year that I've covered on the channel. It's only fair that I covered the other half of that coin, which is of course going to be anything that was Spider-Man related on the Marvel Legends side of my top 5 rankings for 2022. Now, of course, there are a couple of caveats which are difficult to address because in that other video I mentioned that I wasn't going to cover repaints, but Marvel Legends has a tendency to lean towards repaints, some of which I wasn't even aware were repaints when I reviewed them, until somebody in the comment section let me know that they were. But at the same time, I'm a little spoiled for choice considering that I didn't really cover as many Marvel Legends as I have for McFarlane toys because there were a different assortment of factors, from pricing to exclusivity to just my sheer ethics coming into play as to whether or not I should really spend the money on something or give it back and bring it back to the retailer. So all of those things are addressed in the individual reviews for an awful lot of these Marvel Legends that are going to be showing up on this video. And much like with the McFarlanes, if you guys want to pick up any of the Marvel Legends that show up in this video that are not exclusive to any particular retailer, then links for all of those products and those figures are going to be down in the description that take you on over to Big Bad Toy Store, which will help out the channel in the process, bring you guys some more Spideys to your collection, and again, help kind of feed into that addiction of gathering more Spideys like I do. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with my top 5 Marvel Legends that I've reviewed on the channel for 2022. With number 5, I'm personally kind of glad that I'm starting off with a 2-pack because I kind of want to address where 2-packs, 3-packs, different kind of bundles fall into the ranking, because on the one hand, I want to give the rank to one of the figures that come in that set. But at the same time, unless you're shopping through Mercari, eBay, or some kind of vendor, you're not going to be able to really find these figures by themselves through general MSRP, through those vast popular retailers, unless you get the 2-packs, the 2 figures together. So by technical default, at number 5 is going to be the King in Black Null and Venom 2-pack, primarily because of that Venom figure that I thoroughly do love. Again, I will reiterate that this is a little bit of the bending of the rules that we come into play because of how I was not known to the information that the Venom in this 2-pack is simply just a repaint of the Venom 2018 movie Marvel Legends that came out during that year, the Tom Hardy movie, and they simply just took that figure, which I was kind of impressed with when I saw it in stores. I just didn't really like too much of the movie accurate kind of paint decals and the decor and the different kind of aesthetics to it. But it was the King in Black assortment that came bundled in with a surprising Null figure, but also a comic accurate Venom with the cool tongue and the assortment of different hands, and of course the wingspan that gave it a much needed dynamic lift that made me kind of go for a very essential Venom figure that to me stood out amongst the rest, even amongst that 3-pack Amazon exclusive, to make me look at that figure and go, yep, you know what, this is definitely a Venom figure that's going to become a staple amongst my Marvel Legends set. Number 4 is going to go to the one that's, I'm not going to say started it all, but definitely kind of brought me back in the form of a resurgence to Marvel Legends after a little bit of a drought in the middle of the year, especially when a lot of people were kind of debating whether or not the new packaging, the plastic-free packaging that Marvel was trying to tout here in the Hasbro Marvel Legends, and that's going to be Iron Spider, the first one out of this brand new wave towards the latter half of the year that surprised me with its level of quality behind the plastic, the paint job, the way it felt premium in my hand. There was just something about it I couldn't shake of being a very great iteration of the Iron Spider character that was reminiscent of the comic version with having only 3 tentacles and the proper color scheming. That to me made me go, yup, you know, if it wasn't for having that original one that came out years ago, that was the standard 6-inch version, I probably would have just settled for that. But it's good to see that I finally have a comic accurate and also premium quality feeling Iron Spider in my collection. And that's one that I probably go against the grain with an awful lot of people, because this is actually an opinion that's kind of set in the minority. A lot of people didn't really vibe with Iron Spider, but frankly, I did. I might have to brace myself a little bit for number 3, because this is probably the first point that's gonna bring people to the comment section and be like, really, David? Really? Because this is arguably one of the finer Marvel Legends, but again, it comes in a 2-pack for a figure that could have been done a little bit better, but at least it's the one that I wasn't really prioritizing. And that's gotta be for the Spider-Man that comes in the Renew Your Vows 2-pack with Spinneret. Yes, I will echo what everybody else has said, that that's one of the quintessential comic accurate Spideys that have been released in quite some time from Marvel Legends. Good to have a Peter Parker head thrown in there that's very well painted and sculpted, along with the different hand accessories, and the overall build that they chose for this repaint is actually one of the finer ones. But can you really fault me for having a bit of pause at hitting the purchase button back when I did to get my Renew Your Vows set, knowing that I'm paying a little bit of extra price for Spinneret, who is a pleasant surprise with a good head sculpt and paint decals, but a limiting body sculpt that to me made me go, if only this was sold separately, then no question about it, I probably would have just picked up the Spidey by himself, so I can just have a very quintessential Spidey collection, and the Renew Your Vows Spidey would have definitely been a fine addition to that. I'll take the Spinneret, but it definitely puts into an awful lot of argument and debate as to whether or not what Marvel Legends is really doing here with the pricing is either ethical or righteous, and that's why it gets knocked down a couple pegs to number 3. Number 2 is going to be keeping up the theme of the symbiotes, just like the King in Black 2-pack did, but this is for one very fine Marvel Legends Spidey that may be, again, a bending of the rules when it comes to those repaints, but at least they were able to get the quality of said paint and the right body sculpture to match it, and that's going to be that symbiote suit Black Spider-Man from the Marvel Legends Retro Card Collection, because I have been in dire need of a proper black suited symbiote Spidey, and it's good to see that they got one effectively right here. A lot of people were gravitating towards one of the more recent releases where he looks kind of purple and cel shaded, but I'll gladly take one that is just a neutral and very simplistic black with the white symbol, just like you see right here, but having proper sculpting of the body, proper articulation, and sometimes going the simplest route is quite frankly the most effective route. And that's why this is my second most favorite Spidey Marvel Legends that was released in 2022. And as tradition dictates, let's get to some honorable mentions before we hit the number 1 spot. Of course, I gotta give it to one of the more recent reviews, the Bombastic Bagman. It's reutilizing one of those repainted body sculpts we've seen time and again, part of that retro card line, but said retro card is actually different than the ones we've seen before, so it's cool to see that's got this kind of old school aesthetic to it. And of course, you can't not help but get a laugh out of the bagged head sculpt, as well as the little kick me paper accessory and those giant ass feet that are completely disproportionate but are very, very hilariously and amusing. And then we get to some other slight repaints, but still good variations of the character, such as Cyborg Spider-Man and the Ben Reilly Spider-Man, that definitely get some honorable mentions in my book for being very well painted and sculpted, despite, again, reutilizing of that same body. And of course, who am I to not give an honorable mention to the figure that I bought, initially returned because I thought he was a bit pricey, but when I managed to get a coupon deal on Amazon, it was a bit of a no-brainer to purchase back and keep back in my collection. Amazing Fantasy Spider-Man. The fact that I returned him and bought him back is enough to be worthy of an honorable mention, right? Maybe not cracking the top 5, but there's enough going with the brand new sculpt that I admitted to my fallacy there in saying that it was a repaint when in fact it wasn't, and coming with some really worthwhile additions to the articulation, especially with the boot cut, the accessories, and paying homage to our very first time witnessing the wall crawler. Well, some of us who were alive to actually purchase that Amazing Fantasy 15 comic book. What a time would it have been to just walk into the comic store, see that variant of the cover, and witnessing Spidey's birth, only for almost 60 years later to see it come in a Marvel Legends. It's definitely one of the highlights of the year. But for me, the number 1 Marvel Legends released in 2022 is Nicolas Cage. Yes, I understand that there might be just a bit of personal bias here because he's voiced by Nicolas Cage, but nevertheless, not only was he one of the standouts from one of my favorite not only Spider-Man movies, but animated movies, period, Into the Spider-Verse, but the crown of number 1 Marvel Legends of 2022 is actually one of the most recent drops as a Target exclusive. Spider-Man Noir, along with the the Spider-Ham accessory bundled in as part of this 2-pack Marvel Legends assortment. And frankly, I just cannot get enough of this figure. He is actually one of the few Marvel Legends that I looked at the price, thought to myself, is he really worth 30 bucks? Are we really price gouging at this point by Hasbro? And this is honestly one of the ones where I don't mind paying the 30 bucks. If maybe he was like 32, 33, teetering on that price steep overload, probably wouldn't have minded, because he comes with Spider-Ham with his own articulation amongst the head. It's just the head, but a gun that actually favors the character. Warner Brothers, DC, again, you know, it's letting you guys know, not McFarlane. I'm not blaming McFarlane. Some of you guys jumped the gun thinking it was McFarlane that I was blaming. No, DC and Warner Brothers, and an alternate head to make it look like he's not wearing the hat. There was just so much value, as well as premium quality behind the paint job, the matted finish. My only issues would have to be how stagnant that coat really feels along the hip area. But outside of that, it's honestly one of my, frankly, grails of my collection. And it's one of the Marvel Legends that I don't see myself parting with anytime soon. At all. Probably years to come. And it wraps up my top 5 Marvel Legends figures of 2022 that I've reviewed on the channel. And now I throw it over to you guys. If you collect Marvel Legends, please let me know in the comment section what are your guys' highlights, your top 5s of the year, what are your worst 5s of the year. And they don't necessarily need to be tied to Spider-Man. They could also be from the X-Men, from other characters amongst the Marvel pantheon of heroes and villains. Let me know your guys' selections down in the comments, and if you guys enjoyed this top 5 ranking, let me know by hitting the thumbs up button. If you guys disagreed or didn't like it whatsoever, then please let me know by hitting the thumbs down button. It's informative either way. And of course, if you guys want to see much more Marvel Legends and Spidey goodness going into 2023, then don't forget to hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications, and you guys will be notified when they go live. Otherwise, in the meantime, stay humble, and as always, take care. See you next year.